Tony Curtis engaged private investigators to observe his wife. He listened in on Janet Leigh's conversation. During her work on the shoot, he reached out to her hotel room 12 times each night while engaging in relationships with numerous individuals in Hollywood. In his 1993 memoirs, he portrayed himself as a victim. He asserted that Janet had been dishonest. He communicated to her that he was aware. Following Janet's passing in 2004, Tony recognized an opportunity. His subsequent book misrepresented their bedroom, despite the fact that no one should have been aware of it. The timing was appropriate. Libel suits are not permissible if the individuals in question are deceased. Tony was very aware. Tony Curtis was previously known as another individual. His name was Bernard Schwartz. He was born in the Bronx and faced financial hardship. He spoke Hungarian exclusively until the age of 6. His family lived in a small room located beneath his father's sewing shop. Their food supply was limited. The environment was characterized by noise, intensity, and a lack of clarity. His parents frequently engaged in disputes regarding finances, leading to a persistent atmosphere of tension. Her circumstances deteriorated at 8. He and his younger brother Julius resided at a shelter for a month due to their inability to provide for themselves. Abandoning a young individual can result in lasting emotional damage. They faced bullying due to their Jewish identity. The journey proved to be quite challenging. Bernard will always remember it. From the outset, he understood that self-reliance was essential for his survival. The most unfavorable outcome occurred. A vehicle tragically took the life of 12-year-old Julius prior to his bar mitzvah. Injury sustained by Bernard. Julius provided protection and served as his closest companion, primarily at home. He disappeared. Bernard and Robert frequently faced physical discipline from their mother as her mental health deteriorated. Subsequently, Robert received a diagnosis of schizophrenia. He resided in an environment characterized by violence, fear, and mental instability. He was the sole survivor when it shattered everyone else. Curtis took to the streets following Julius's death. He became involved with a local gang for the sake of survival, rather than engaging in criminal activities. His objective was to integrate seamlessly. He quickly became sociable. Even at that moment, he was aware that his attractiveness could be his salvation. He safeguarded his face during combat. He was uncertain of the method, yet he believed his appearance could be advantageous. A neighbor noticed Curtis proceeding down that road and promptly intervened to assist. He participated in Boy Scout camp at the age of 11. All circumstances have shifted. He encountered remarkable individuals for the first time. He acquired an understanding of responsibility, regulations, and collaboration. That singular act of kindness may have been pivotal in saving him. His subsequent statement indicated that he would have faced incarceration without it. Following his viewing of war films featuring Cary Grant and Tyrone Power, Curtis enlisted in the Navy during World War II. He sought genuine excitement. He comprehended the situation. He dedicated more than 2 years to service aboard the USS Proteus. On September 2, 1945, he witnessed Japan's surrender in Tokyo Bay from the deck. He was several hundred meters away from making history. During his service, he sustained a leg injury and was subsequently returned home ahead of schedule. The GI Bill provided him with another opportunity. He pursued a challenging aspiration with it: work-related conduct. The acting class at the New School provided instruction from esteemed directors and showcased emerging talents such as Walter Matthau and Harry Belafonte. He pursued recognition and aimed to leave his hometown behind. He found solace in acting. He relocated to Hollywood at the age of 23 in 1948. He garnered their attention at Universal Studios. He was promptly signed. Initially, they eliminated his history. Bernard Schwartz has departed. Initially, they considered the names Jimmy, Anthony, and Tony Curtis before ultimately selecting Tony, which proved to be more captivating. He gained recognition after mastering the skills of fencing and horseback riding. Their appearance and demeanor underwent a significant transformation. He made his film debut in Criss Cross 1949 with a 2-minute role. Their dancing exhibited a remarkable sense of unity. Despite the absence of dialogue or acknowledgments, the audience remained engaged. Subsequently, he took on minor roles in City Across the River and Johnny's Stool Pigeon. He dedicated significant effort to secure his position and enhance his speed. The event occurred in 1951. The Prince Who Was a Thief marked his initial significant role, establishing his reputation. The setting in Tangiers presents him as an intriguing figure, initially perceived as a charming rogue, who ultimately reveals his royal lineage. Curtis successfully captured the essence of this Hollywood fantasy. The film showcased his beauty through the use of vibrant technicolor. They were insatiable. He achieved fame almost instantly. Curtis never uttered a word in Yondu Lies the Castle of My Father, yet a joke circulated. It enhanced the narrative surrounding him. He was not concerned. It gained significant recognition. This film demonstrated his capabilities. This is not the conclusion for Universal. Alongside Piper Laurie and Rock Hudson, he established a trio of emerging talents. The initial efforts did not gain popularity. However, Universal recognized the strategic direction it was pursuing. The studio oversaw all aspects. They coordinate public appearances for emerging talents, constructed a narrative, and claimed that Laurie experienced a milk bath. The success can be attributed to the imagery and sales performance. Curtis was recognized as the determined young individual who achieved significant success in the blue-collar sector. Hudson exhibited the highest level of refinement. Creepy Laurie possessed an undeniable beauty. They worked together to provide Universal with new talent to rival MGM and Paramount. It represented the culmination of all of Curtis's efforts. Hollywood shone brightly in 1950. Film icons were revered, and corporations held significant influence over all aspects. He encountered Janet Leigh at that time. He gained widespread recognition. Norma Shearer, a prominent figure of the 1930s, recognized her talent, leading to her rise as a notable MGM actress. The photograph of Janet's skeet camp secretary was presented to Norma. One visual representation transformed her life. Janet achieved recognition with the support of Norma. She was now meeting Tony, who was emerging as a representative of a sincere, expressive, and contemporary acting style. They encountered each other during a discussion. The studio equipment appeared to be in motion. She exhibited elegance. He would return. Everything made sense. On June 4, 1951, they entered into matrimony. It transcended the traditional concept of a wedding. A revolt. Tony has officially signed a contract with Universal. Janet had affiliations with MGM. Both sites are subject to stringent regulations. Prominent performers were advised to remain unmarried, to allow fans to indulge in their fantasies. Weddings can disrupt aspirations. This may affect sales performance. They showed a lack of concern. They prioritized their mutual respect above notoriety. The couple held an intimate wedding in Greenwich, Connecticut. It was devoid of elegance. On that day, there were neither crowds nor significant headlines. Yet studio executives expressed their dissatisfaction. Studios managed all aspects, including names and celebrity schedules. In the face of Tony and Janet's opposition, love ultimately prevailed. Individuals did not withdraw. They were satisfied. Soon, Tony and Janet were honored with the Hollywood Women's Press Club Golden Apple Award. It was awarded to individuals who demonstrated strong collaboration skills, maintained a positive rapport with the media, and were well regarded by their colleagues. Tony and Janet distinguished themselves from other Hollywood couples who engaged in public disputes and displays of anger. The collaboration was effective. They demonstrated integrity, reliability, and expertise. Producers and directors have taken note. This award enhanced their reputation and drew in potential collaborators. It assisted them in securing employment. This resulted in an increase in narratives, additional resources, and ongoing recognition. They leveraged the influence of celebrities. They worked together on 5 films between 1953 and 1960. The film Houdini, released in 1953, marked their initial success. Tony depicted the renowned escape artist. Janet was his spouse. Individuals valued the positive rapport they established. Tony not only performed in the film, but also presented himself in an appealing manner. Even the renowned Janet could handle significant drama. The 1958 Vikings comprised them. It was substantial. The production in Norway incurred a cost of $3.5 million, which was significant at that time. The confrontations were intense. Each performed his respective skill. The film performed well. In 1960, they produced their final film, Who Was She? The experience was brief, amusing, and engaging. They were insatiable. The films they collaborated on achieved higher box office revenues than the majority released that year. Studios prioritized profitability. The couple was well liked by others. Their offspring arrived at an increased size. Keely Lee Curtis was born on June 17, 1956. The news became chaotic. 2 renowned actors welcomed their first child while at the height of their careers. Magazines characterized them as the ideal family. Kaylee possesses numerous photographs featuring her renowned parents. Life magazine. All the covers conveyed identical messages. Individuals from the entertainment industry in Hollywood. Subsequently, Jamie Lee Curtis was born on November 22, 1958. Increased camera presence leads to enhanced news coverage. It transcended mere play. Individuals began to show a newfound interest in their personal lives. Tony, Janet, Kelly, and Jamie were captured in photographs at various movie premieres, holiday celebrations, and charity events. This marked a significant moment when the personal lives of stars gained equal importance to their cinematic works. Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh represented the most notable partnership in Hollywood for the year. However, their marriage was deteriorating behind closed doors. Tony felt a sense of discomfort during their initial meeting. He had a fondness for Janet, yet he held reservations about her trustworthiness. Subsequently, that absence of confidence evolved into a dependency. Tony was unable to find relaxation. Despite Janet's presence on set, his calls to her hotel room sometimes surpassed a dozen each night. He referred to it as love, yet it appeared to be power. He frequently inquired about her location and the individuals she was with. Tony was involved with Marilyn Monroe and Gloria DeHaden during this period. It extended beyond mere calls. Tony had suspicions regarding Janet's fidelity during the filming of The Manchurian Candidate alongside Frank Sinatra. A private detective monitored her throughout the filming. The authorities did not uncover any evidence. Tony was skeptical. He was thoroughly captivated by Sinatra. He grew increasingly convinced that an issue was present as he collected additional evidence. Tony experienced apprehension that extended beyond his co-stars. Janet also attracted the attention of millionaire Howard Hughes. He monitored her activities through private investigators, gifted her items, and intercepted her communications. Janet stated that Hughes typically exhibited a pleasant demeanor, yet it often induced feelings of anxiety in her. Tony perceived it as quite daunting. In his memoirs, he expressed that Hughes might take his life. Certain individuals in Hollywood held that belief. Hughes possessed the influence and resources to eliminate individuals. Tony did not exhibit any mistreatment towards her prior to their marriage. He waited outside Janet's residence while she was involved with other individuals prior to their marriage. He observed from his vehicle for an extended period. Not yet her partner. Not even her partner. Nevertheless, he regarded her as his own. The desire for ownership remained strong. Time has exacerbated the situation. One detail indicated Tony's apprehension. At the outset of their relationship, he assessed Janet's loyalty. He was recognized for his resemblance to Cary Grant's voice. Grant reached out to Janet to extend an invitation for a date. Janet promptly assessed the circumstances. She politely declined, having already made the decision to date Tony Curtis. Despite her impressive response, Tony remained skeptical of her trustworthiness. In 1955, the situation deteriorated. Tony discovered a concealed letter within their Beverly Hills residence. It was not authored by Janet. Regarding them, he was assured it originated from her director, Bob Fosse. The letter undermined Tony's confidence. Tony found it difficult to release his grip. Despite the lack of significance, that document represented betrayal to him. His circumstances underwent a significant transformation. The subsequent altercation unsettled the community. Screams could be heard through the walls. Not merely the letter. The situation encompassed years of strain, envy, and anger. Tony was quite upset regarding Janet's recognition. Janet was frustrated with his lack of maturity. The expectation for flawless collaboration had reached its zenith. The residence ceased to feel like a home. It was a time of conflict. Janet stated that nothing was accurate. No incidents were reported. However, Tony remained skeptical of her claims. He once again found himself questioning her trustworthiness. Their marriage transformed into a spectacle following that event. They smiled openly. In private, they disintegrated. Tony engaged additional private investigators. He paid attention to her phone conversation. Jamie Lee Curtis later expressed that her father's anger had a detrimental effect on the family. Tony ceased to exhibit any signs of shame following that altercation. He provided a rationale for his actions through the letter. He asserted that he could engage in cheating if Janet was able to do so. Tony began engaging in intimate relationships with others in public, regardless of her actions. He engaged with women while asserting his marital status. Curtis disclosed to Janet Leigh that he had engaged in relationships with Marilyn Monroe and Natalie Wood during his marriage. He expressed his admiration for co-star Gloria DeHaven during the course of marriage. He conveyed to his sixth wife, who is 46 years younger than him, that Gloria had been his lifelong love after many years. He began his relationship with her in 1950 prior to her transformation into Marilyn Monroe. Norma Jean sported a ponytail. During the production of Some Like It Hot in 1958, they came together once again. Monroe was wed to Arthur Miller, while Curtis was in a relationship with Leigh. The situation declined rapidly. Monroe became pregnant during the encounter. However, Curtis reports that she lost the baby weeks later. Arthur Miller sought assurance that Monroe's physician did not believe Curtis was the father of the child. The relationship concluded as abruptly as it commenced, driven by emotional distress. He had a brief encounter. Excellent rapport with Natalie Wood. Sources indicate that the conclusion was a significant loss. He maintained a steady pace. He dedicated considerable time at the Playboy Mansion and noted that exceptionally attractive individuals approached him with enthusiasm. It is an offer that is simply irresistible, he noted. He believed he was acting in accordance with what any commendable individual would do. He frequently betrayed her trust, believing that Leigh was being unfaithful to him. He exhibited intense anger, skepticism, and envy. A comprehensive analysis of a projection case study. Despite violating the oath, he placed accusations of treason on others. He presented himself as the victim. He expressed in interviews and his memoirs that he observed no change. He justified his circumstances by asserting that his popularity rendered it difficult to resist temptation. He was 30, well regarded and appealing. He behaved as though the rules were not relevant, while expecting his partners to remain loyal. This unfair treatment affected him throughout his entire life. The narrative from 1961 was of lesser quality. He commenced the production of Taras Bulba in Argentina at the age of 36. He worked in partnership with 17-year-old German-Austrian actress Christine Kaufmann. Given their positive relationship on set, they began dating soon after. He remained married to Janet Leigh. Following Leigh's unauthorized appearance on site, the situation escalated significantly. In their presence, she seemingly experienced a decline in her health, the culmination of challenges in their marriage. It was not solely unethical. It was against the law. Numerous regions regarded their association as non-consensual. According to California law, Curtis was required to be 18 years of age to provide consent. If their connection had been made public in the U.S. prior to Christine's birthday, there could have been grounds for prosecution. The room became chaotic. To mitigate potential legal and media challenges, they maintained confidentiality regarding the matter. Taras Bulba was awarded $6 million, a substantial amount during that period. The article indicated that a collapse was imminent. Kaufmann and Curtis did not cohabit publicly in the United States until she reached the age of 18. Prior to that time, they resided in Europe, where the media and legal regulations were comparatively more lenient. Following his departure from Leigh in September 1962, he entered into marriage with Kaufmann in 1963. Allegra was born in 1966, while Alexander was born in 1964. Their marriage lasted until 1968. The infidelity concluded their marriage to Leigh. It also damaged his esteemed reputation, which contributed to his renown. Curtis's performance declined, and his reputation did not regain its former standing. Throughout the entire experience, Curtis appeared to remain consistent. During a 2008 interview, he expressed that Gloria de Heaven, rather than any of his 6 partners, held a special place in his heart. He was married, however, it was of no consequence. He articulated his emotions as though they were of utmost importance. The mindset of prioritizing personal desires over family, loyalty, and outcomes significantly influenced his life. He pursued his passions and believed that his status as a celebrity granted him immunity from the limitations. Curtis stated, "I resolved that from that moment forward, I would embrace more of the positive opportunities presented to me." A succinct declaration. He viewed love and sex as rewards rather than obligations. Only hunger exposed his deceit. The charisma that secured him movie roles also allowed him to evade consequences. The film's impact resulted in harm to his loved ones, and there was no subsequent apology offered. Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh were an iconic Hollywood duo. By September 1962, their impeccable reputation was tarnished. On September 14, 1962, it was officially recognized in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. Janet continued to film The Manchurian Candidate. The aftermath of the breakup astonished everyone. Janet entered into matrimony with investor Robert Brandt at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas after a single day. Dean Martin and his spouse observed the event. It caught individuals off guard. Information circulates rapidly. There was a widespread belief that she was in a relationship with Brandt prior to the divorce. Janet contested this, asserting that the death of Tony's father was the catalyst for the separation. However, her swift marriage garnered significant media attention. The matter received extensive coverage in various media outlets. Concerns were raised regarding their 2 daughters. Kathy and Jamie Lee. Tony progressed at a deliberate pace, accompanied by audible sounds, whereas Janet advanced swiftly and without a sound. Time improved Janet's life. 2 years prior, she had surprised the audience with her performance as Marion Crane in Psycho, 1960. The 45-second shower scene has been a topic of discussion for years. She received a Golden Globe and an Oscar for her performance. She persisted. She directed one of the most remarkable political dramas of 1962, The Manchurian Candidate. She possessed a beauty that transcended mere appearance. She may portray challenging characters. Subsequently, she composed Bye Bye Birdie and Harper in 1963 and 1964. Individuals and directors regarded her as a dedicated performer. She possesses significant interests beyond her acting career. She served as a member of the Peace Corps President's Council. Her position was satisfactory. Following the separation, Tony Curtis faced significant challenges. He encountered numerous challenges after rising to prominence as one of Hollywood's leading performers. Tony was embroiled in controversy, drug misuse, and declining renown. While Janet's career rose, the impact extended beyond his professional responsibilities. Parental responsibilities have also changed. Their daughters felt the effects of their separation. Kelly and Janet Leigh experienced the introduction of new step-parents and a significant period of absence. Janet Leigh stated that her family has experienced 13 divorces. The chaos left a lasting impact. Her understanding of a strong relationship requires years of exploration. Achieving popularity during childhood was not an easy endeavor. Furthermore, they experienced a heightened sense of isolation and disorientation. Tony, her father, infrequently made visits. The passing of their friend further strained their relationship. He authored more than just books. An explosive device was detonated in Hollywood. His book was released in 1993, nearly a decade after his former spouse, Janet Leigh, published hers. Janet's book evoked a sense of tranquility and reminiscence. She demonstrated courtesy and effectively navigated challenges. She refrained from criticizing Tony. Tony aimed for impact when he recounted his story. He displayed confidence. He examines the complexities of love, the impact of drugs, and the challenges associated with fame. It was disorganized. In contrast to Janet's meticulous account, they were completely unaware of what had impacted them. Tony closed the door with force, breaking the silence that enveloped the room. A number of individuals expressed their appreciation. The Library Journal described it as both honest and intriguing. They appreciated his discussion about his upbringing in a modest environment in New York and his dedication to achieving fame through hard work. Nonetheless, there were individuals who expressed dissatisfaction. Publish Weekly provided a critical assessment of his work. Responsibility was shifted onto his parents, women, and Hollywood. Rather than being attributed to him, Tony was not at fault. He was characterized by charm and a strong sense of self. A significant number of individuals expressed their discontent with that. However, I found it impossible to divert my gaze. He asserts that he has been married 6 times. He shared insights regarding his substance use disorder and his experience at the Betty Ford Center. He disclosed several extramarital relationships to her. One of the most unexpected assertions. He asserted that Marilyn Monroe became pregnant with his child in 1958 during the filming of Some Like It Hot. He stated that she experienced a miscarriage without anyone being aware. The news gained widespread attention. The situation was more unusual as Monroe and Arthur Miller were still in a relationship. Surprising many, Miller was present. No one was certain. Tony's name was associated with yet another Hollywood secret, uncertainty and emotions. Dear readers, he experienced a challenging upbringing. His parents were Jewish immigrants from Hungary who relocated to America. He began speaking English at the age of 5. He was affected by the challenges of childhood poverty, an impactful segment of his narrative. He would then elaborate on his encounters with Natalie Wood and how women found him irresistible regarding his skills. For each weakness there existed pride. He seemed uncertain about whether to receive applause or sympathy. He felt a sense of ease upon the debut of American Prince in 2008. Janet Leigh passed away in 2004. Tony could make any statement regarding their marriage, and it would go unchallenged. He alleged that she was unfaithful, regardless of his absence of evidence. He persisted in reaching out to her due to his concerns that she was involved with Frank Sinatra. He portrayed Janet as disengaged and potentially unfaithful, leading to feelings of concern and jealousy. His romantic narrative was overshadowed by doubt. With Janet's absence, his decision was conclusive. The novel extended beyond the confines of his marriage. All were impacted by him. He stated that Jerry Lewis exhibited arrogance. He ridiculed Danny Kaye. He offered commendations for Frank Sinatra and Laurence Olivier in private discussions. He also discussed his unconventional romantic experiences. He took pride in his reputation as a Hollywood Lothario. He provided a comprehensive overview of his relationships with Monroe Wood and others. The tone was assertive yet lacking in accountability. At times he appeared to convey sincerity. Some held the opinion that he was prone to boasting. One of his most remarkable statements pertained to his encounter with Monroe in 1950. He asserts that they engaged in an affair during that time and again in 1958. He indicated that she became pregnant at that time. He recalled her informing Miller. He remarked, "The room was so quiet I could hear California Highway Patrol cars screeching." This claim was unfounded and unverified. Nonetheless, it generated discussion and ensured his book remained prominently displayed. The reception was varied. Certain readers asserted that the book was entertaining until it ceased to be, similar to a cake that appeared impressive while baking but disintegrated upon cooling. Initially strong, it became resentful. Readers grew weary of the constant focus on names and assigning blame. They prioritized his behavior over his dating history. However, certain individuals found enjoyment in the rumors. Reading a private letter without filters provided an intimate glimpse into the author's thoughts. The final twist was Tony's passing in 2010. His will took everyone by surprise. He left his $60 million estate to Jill Vandenberg, his sixth wife. He failed to compensate his children, including Jamie Lee Curtis. He made modifications to his will several months prior to his passing. He enumerated each young individual and stated that they would not receive anything. One daughter initiated legal action, asserting that the will was fraudulent. However, it was ultimately upheld. Many believed that Jill had an influence on him. There were perceptions among some that Tony exhibited cruelty. Both conclusions were unsatisfactory.